shut this off and turn it back on. Okay, we left off talking about demand, and we'll finish that up and talk about supply today. But before we get on that, I want to go over the exam. Okay, exam. So on chapters 1 through 3, it will be open book, open note. You'll have to use the Respondus browser, but you will not. Normally, you would use the monitor too, but I'm going to shut the monitor off. So it'll just be the browser. What I don't want you to do is look at answers up on the internet. Okay, no phones, just open book, open notes. Okay, that includes the PowerPoints if you took the notes on those. Okay, it will be open. I'll open it Thursday. Actually, yeah, I'll open it Thursday before I leave. So open Thursday, and it will close Monday at midnight. That's Monday, the first day of school when you come back. So I'll have to look the date up. I don't remember what date that is. It'll be Monday the 29th. Monday the 29th at midnight. So you got all day Monday. To get that done. If you don't do it, then you can come in the next Monday night at a 10% penalty and take a non-open book, non-note test. And you won't enjoy it because I'll be here. Okay? I don't worry about any of you guys, but everybody understands that, right? If you don't do it over spring break, bad stuff will happen to you. Okay?
Spring break is next week.
Yeah. Yeah. Thursday is your last day of class, and then you'll come back Monday the 29th. If I'm right, I'm pretty sure. This is where we left off. Okay. So everybody listening at home, the exam, chapters 1 through 3, open book, open note. You must use the Respondus browser. The exam will open on Thursday, and it will close Monday the 29th at midnight. All right. If you are late, you don't get it done by midnight, you will take it the next Monday, a week from then, and it will not be open book or open note, and you'll do it between 5:30 and 7:30 during my help sessions, which nobody comes to. So I'll sit there and watch you take an exam for 2 hours, and watch you cry and sweat and plead for mercy, and my heart will be like stone. Okay? There's no reason not to get it done. I'm not going to erase this. Okay. We left off talking about demand, and we said that only a change in price can cause a change in quantity demanded. Only a change in price can cause a change in quantity demanded. Everybody say that with me. Only a change in price can cause a change in quantity demanded. Okay? That's it. Nothing else. Okay? And when price changes, this is all backwards when you guys look at it, isn't it? On the computers? It's not? Why does it look backward to me? I don't know. Okay. It's going to fill me in. I don't know. So here we've got, I need to make this bigger too. here we've got a demand curve here, all right? And if we could have one. And let's say that the price, this is for CDs. And I know nobody buys their music anymore, you guys just steal it. But let's say that the price of CDs is $15. And at point A here, 20 CDs are being demanded per day here in Gadsden. Okay? Old people buy them still, like me. I don't like music, so it doesn't matter. I don't buy them. Okay? So then something comes along and the price of CDs drops from 10 to 15 to $10. So they put CDs on sale 33% off. And the price drops to 10. You take that $10 price, trace it over to the demand curve, and it hits the demand curve here at point B. And then you go straight down, and that says at a price of $10, consumers in Gadsden are willing and able to purchase 30 CDs per day, ceteris paribus, all other things being equal. Okay? So when price changes, all we do is move up, or in this case, down the same demand curve. And the only thing that changes is on the bottom there, the quantity demanded. When you draw a demand curve or when you see one, price is always on the y-axis, quantity is always on the x-axis. Now there's a little interesting story about demand curves. Whenever you took math, and hopefully you remember this, but whenever you took math, they told you that when you draw a graph, that you always put what we call the dependent variable when you have one, always goes on the x-axis. And I'm sorry, my fault, that's wrong. Y-axis, there we go. And the independent variable always goes on the y, okay? And that's true. There's only one exception to that rule that I know of, and that is supply and demand curves. And the reason for that is that the first guy to ever draw one had the relationship backwards. He thought that price was dependent on quantity demanded, which doesn't make any sense. Okay. The real relationship is quantity demanded, how much of a good or service you're willing and able to purchase during a defined time period, ceteris paribus, is dependent on the price of the good. Okay, you walk into the store, you see how much they're offering it for, and you decide how much of it you're willing and able to purchase during that given time period, ceteris paribus. Okay, so we got it backwards here. Okay, and it's because the first guy that drew them had that relationship backwards. So the next question is, if one economist jumped off a cliff, would the rest of us follow? And you're damn right, because there's got to be something good down there. Yes, we would. We're not, well, we think we know everything. So if one economist knows something, we might not know it. So we better just jump down there and pretend that we know. Okay. There's my little eraser here. Now, the next thing we're going to do, okay, well, here, this is just, and here's an easy way to remember it, that there's a, if price increases, we move up along the demand curve. So if price increases, we move up along the demand curve, and that will cause quantity demanded to go down. And that's because of that inverse relationship between the price of a good and the quantity that buyers are willing and able to purchase during a defined time period, quantity demanded. They move in opposite directions, okay? So price goes up, quantity demanded goes down. If you forget that rule, just use common sense, okay? Good economics is nothing more than formalized common sense, the guy said once. Forgot who said it. But If you walk into a store and they raise the price of a good that you normally buy, all other things being equal, you're going to buy less of it. Okay? So it's just common sense, nothing complicated. Okay? If the price of a good decreases, okay, price of a good goes down, you're going to move down the demand curve, and quantity demanded is going to go up. Ladies, you all know this. If shoes that you like go on sale, are you going to buy more or fewer pairs of shoes? Do you like shoes, Elena? Price of the shoes goes down. Are you going to buy more or fewer shoes? More. Okay. So that's a change in quantity demanded. And it's only caused by a change in price. When something other than price changes that affects how much of a good or a service you'll purchase, then we get what we call a change in demand. And your book says here that we shift the demand curve, okay? And what we do is we take the old demand curve and then we draw a new one. We shift it. Okay, we call it a shift. The reason that we shift the curve is because you violated the ceteris paribus condition that we drew the original curve under. Remember, we said we allowed price to change. We hold everything else constant, right? Ceteris paribus. Now we allow something other than price to change that affects how much of a good or service you'll buy. We've invalidated that old demand curve. It's no good anymore. We broke the assumption that we drew it under. So when we do that, we have to draw a brand new one. We call that a shift, okay? And if you get confused, change in demand. We're changing the demand curve, okay? It's like a diaper, right? The old one's no good anymore, so we have to change it. We have to get a brand new diaper. Here, the old demand curve's no good anymore. Instead of fouling it up, we violated one of the assumptions, right? So we have to draw a brand new curve. Why? It's just a shift. Why doesn't it shift anymore? Okay, well, here's what it would look like. So this might be the demand curve for CDs that we just had. And let's say that the price of downloads off of the internet goes up. That would cause an increase in the demand for CDs, okay? An increase in demand, we shift the curve to the right, okay? We shift the curve to the right. So a shift, you can see here if I pick any 2 points, right? We shift the curve to the right. That's an increase in demand. An increase in demand, okay? A shift to the left D3 here, this would be a decrease in demand. Okay. Is there anybody here who's left-handed? The hand of the devil, man, you're cursed. No. This is a very funny story. My mom was, her dad died, and she was raised pretty much by her old English grandmother. Her mother had to go like work and scrub office floors at night for real. Anyway, so she was pretty much raised by her English grandmother. And when my mom started writing and doing things with her left hand, my English grandmother tied her left hand to her side and would make her write and do everything with her right hand, because the left hand, that was a hand of the devil. For real. My mother's now right-handed. It's true. But anyway, this doesn't apply to you, I'm sorry. No. But we all know that being right-handed is way better, okay? right hand, everything to the right is better. Okay. Right-handed scissors work. Okay. Those ones, the little plastic on them, they don't work. Remember that? We had to go into the little plastic jar and you had to grab the ones with the plastic. And what's great about left-handed people is there's no laws protecting them. You can make fun of left-handed people as much as you want and nobody can do a dang thing to you, right? The left hand, that's the devil's hand, right? No one's getting mad, right? You play baseball, right? Right-handed pitchers are always better because left-handed pitchers are loony or crazy, right? They are. You ever catch? Lefties are horrible. They're nuts. You have to constantly go out and assure them it's going to be okay. Just throw on my glove. If you're left-handed, they are. If you're right-handed, they're better. I'll tell you a horrible story. I pitched and I caught when I was a kid. And one time I was pitching, I think it was maybe 13. And this guy comes up to the plate and he's scared to death of me. He's scared to death. I threw really hard. And I was a little wild. In fact, I grew up in Las Vegas. A guy caught me, same guy, he caught Greg Maddox, who's a year or so older than I am. He caught Greg Maddox and then he caught me and he came to me one day and he said, you know what? You know who Greg Maddox is? I'm like, yeah, everybody knows who Greg Maddox is. He says, well, I caught him. I caught him last year. I said, really? He said, yeah. He said, you have better stuff. But he gets his over the plate. Big difference there. So our baseball career was cut short. But he was poor guy comes up to the plate and he's just vile. He gets up there, he's like, don't you dare hit me in the you know what. I've never heard anybody yell that at it before, right? I mean, I've heard people, hey, watch what you're throwing, don't hit me. But never heard, don't hit me, you know where. And I'm tired. And I'm like, I'm just gonna throw one close. And then I'm gonna lob 3 over the plate. I'm gonna get out of this inning. I had no intention of hitting the guy, and he's a left-handed hitter. So like, there's just a clear path right there. And I threw the ball and it got away from me and I hit that poor kid right there. Ambulance had to come and get him. I never saw him again. I don't know what happened to him. His mother's like cursing at me. You hit him there on purpose, you. And I'm horrified, right? Because I never wanted to hit anybody, especially there. But when you hit somebody, you can't act like you care. You just have to, So I'm tossing the ball at the first baseman, trying to keep warm, and I'm sitting there inside going, oh my gosh, what did they do? That kid, I killed him. I think he lived because the police never showed up. Just perfect, right where you would not want to throw it. Poor guy. He's on the ground, just I thought he was dying. Might have been, I don't know. Maybe they resuscitated him at the hospital, I don't know, but poor kid. Dan, do you know anything about baseball? No? Okay. It's next to Three Stooges and nuclear weapons, best thing we ever invented in the US, baseball. You have this ball, what was a baseball, about that big? It's hard, really hard. And you throw it, and there's a plate. You have to get it over the plate. That's what I couldn't do. And then you have to stand there as a batter and have somebody throw a ball at you. Hope he doesn't hit you. If it hits you, you have to act like it doesn't hurt. You cannot even show any pain. You can't scream. You can't do anything. You just go, boom. Meanwhile, your arm feels like it's falling off or wherever it hit you. And then you go to first base. You get a base. Your free base. Isn't that nice? You get hit with a hard ball. In the major leagues, they throw 100 miles an hour now. These guys throw 100. And they hit them with the ball, and they have to act like it doesn't hurt. And they just walk to first base. And you can't rub it. You cannot rub it. This is the worst thing you could do next to scream, is rub it. If you rub it, I'll probably hit you next time you come out. All right. So anyway, not me, because I can't even throw a baseball anymore. My shoulder's gone. So everything to the right is better. Right hand turns are better. Right hand scissors work. Right hand pitchers are better. Everything to the right is better. So that's an increase in demand. That's better. Everything to the left is worse. I'm sorry, no. That's a decrease in demand. So if you get confused, just remember everything to the right is better. Everything to the left is worse. So right shift to the right is an increase. Shift to the left is a decrease. And then if that doesn't work, just pick any price. It doesn't matter what price you pick. See how much is demanded on the old curve, D1 here, and then see how much is demanded on the new curve, D2 here. If more is demanded at that same price on the new curve, that's an increase. If less is demanded on the new curve, say we shifted from this one to the pink one, then you know that's a decrease. So there's 3 ways to know it, okay? And in the next couple slides, we're going to start talking about what causes these curves to shift. What causes a change in demand? Now here, I always like to write any change. Any change in the non-price determinants of demand will cause a change in demand, will cause the curve to shift. Because if anything other than price changes, we violated our ceteris paribus assumption, our old curve is no good, and we've got to draw a new one. Now, the million-dollar question is, what are these non-price determinants of demand? What are these things that can change that will cause a change in demand, a shifting of the curve? Now, here, we're going to discuss them and the relationships between these factors and what happens to the curve. Is there an inverse relationship or a direct relationship? Okay. The first one is a change in the number of buyers in the market. A change, how did that happen? A change in the number of buyers in the market will cause a change in demand. Okay. And here, we will say that there is a direct relationship between the number of buyers in the market and demand. And what that means is they move in the same direction. If you get an increase in the number of buyers, that will increase demand. Okay. A decrease in the number of buyers, that will decrease demand. Here's price, here's quantity, there's my origin. We would normally put a title up here, what this is, but I'm just drawing these, so I won't put the title up there. And I guess I'll have to use brown. So here, this is going to be our original demand. These are going to be our original demand curves, okay? So here's something very relevant today. When people get their stimulus checks, right? And do you know what a stimulus check is? Stand there. You're probably not. Are you getting a stimulus check? Our beloved leader, right? And his friends. Actually, I don't even think Joe Biden's leading anything. I think he just takes naps. And then he wakes up from a nap and they say, here, go read this off a teleprompter. It's like, Lord. You know, Can I have some more Jello? Okay. They're giving us stimulus checks for COVID, even though most of us never caught it or died from it. Right? Okay. And they're going to give everybody a check in the mail from the government for $1,400 per person in your household. Yeah. So when people get these checks, what do you think they're going to do with them? What's that?
Blow.
He says blow, right? A lot of people will. A lot of people will go out, buy, a car that they can't afford, or buy, what is there a new PlayStation 5 out now?
Yeah.
Is it PlayStation 5 now? Yeah. That's the newest one? Okay. They'll go out and buy a PlayStation 5 with it. How much one of those cost? Probably like $600.
Bought off like eBay, it's like 1,000.
$1,000. So they're gonna go out and spend $1,000 on a stupid PlayStation 5 that won't get you any girls. I don't think. Ladies, do you like gamers? Dan, do you like gamers? No. What would you do if you met some young man and he seemed nice, but every time you went over to his house, he was playing video games? Would you think of him as a serious candidate for marriage? Leah? Do you like gamers either? Yeah. Now it's the gamers. When I was a kid, it was Dungeons and Dragons because we were in a good video game. How about those guys? Does that sound hot? Oh, I'm an elfin warrior. Like, shut up, dude. Those guys just get beat up. That's cool. They get the crud beat out of them. And you just laugh because you're like, too stupid to live, so it doesn't matter. People just pulverize them. Pow, pow. Take this. Take this. You're an orc. Pow, pow. Here's an orc for you. But anyway, you're just blow some of that money. But what's another thing people might do with it? Save it, right? They might invest it, right? Don't save it. My gosh. Anybody here have a savings account? What's the interest they're paying on your savings account? 0.02. Yeah, you need to go to a different bank because you could be getting 0.05. 05%. And that's percent. That's not 2%. That's 0.05% interest. You put your money in a savings account. And what are a lot of people going to buy? Bitcoin. So let's say this is the demand for Bitcoin here. Okay, so we're going to make this Bitcoin. And I'm not saying this is going to happen, but this is something I suspect might happen. So if people get these stimulus checks, right? I have 4 kids at home. And I'm not sure. I heard they might give you a check for kids that go to college too. I might be getting like $8,400. Free money. It's not free. Right? Remember I told you nothing's free, right? So that's going to increase the demand for Bitcoin. It'll shift that curve to the right. And then if I'm right here, then we would suspect that would increase the price of Bitcoin, right? What about, have you guys heard of those Wall Street bets, guys? Yeah, that might increase the demand for GameStop stock too, which
It goes up and down every day.
don't buy that.
Yeah,
Don't buy that garbage. My gosh. I love what they did. I thought it was great that they just stuck it to the hedge funds. Okay. And I love that they uncovered that Robinhood was really kind of a scam. I don't call it a scam. It's legal. But what happened was Robinhood was telling everybody, hey, come buy stock from us, all you little people, right? You little people that don't matter.
No commission.
No commission, right? Just come buy the stock. Now, he would say, well, how could you make money if you're buying stocks and selling stocks for people and you don't charge them for it? And here's how you do that. They're not your customers. Your real customers are the suckers that throw money into your company. And that was, I can't remember the name of that hedge fund. And, Melvin. Yeah, Melvin hedge fund. And their real customer, where they make their money, are the people who process the trades. There's something called front running, and basically they're front running. They buy those trades from Robinhood and then make them. They're called market makers. And what they do is they get to see all these trades coming in, right? Where all these suckers are buying. And they are HFT, high frequency traders, high volume traders. They have super fast connections that go to the exchange. So they could see all you suckers buying GameStop at $20 a share, and they can send their trade out and buy it at 18 or 19 or whatever, probably $19.99. And then they just sell it to you. And they make money off the spread between what they pay for it and then what you end up paying for it by the time your order gets all the way there. So they were buying these trades. They were taking the information that was contained in those trades and using it to make a profit, and then kicking back to Robinhood, paying them per trade.
Why is nobody going to prison for that?
Yeah, it's almost like insider trading.
That's insider trading.
Yeah.
What?
It's worse than insider trading. It's called front running. Okay, and it's screwed in essence. Citadel, and that's the thing. Citadel, they were heavily involved with Robinhood. They were paying Robinhood for the trades, and they also had a big investment in Melvin. So Melvin has a big investment in Robinhood. Citadel has a big investment in Melvin. Citadel is Robinhood's customer, in essence. When Melvin took out huge shorts on GameStop, that put them at risk. If the price of GameStop went up, their shorts would lose. And what a short is I go and I borrow a share of stock from Noah, okay, GameStop. Then I sell it at $20 a share, okay? So I've got $20 and I owe Noah a share of GameStop. And this would be if the world were just, this is how it would work. Then the price of it starts to go up, okay? If it keeps going up, I'm going to have to pay more and more of my own money to buy that share of GameStop back and give it back to Noah. Now, that's what most people think of when they think of a short. What really happens is, and this is what happened with GameStop, there were more short shares outstanding than there was stock outstanding. I think it was 120% of the outstanding shares of GameStop stock were shorted. So that means I borrowed Noah's stock, sold it to Dan, maybe. And then Parker went out and borrowed it from Dan, the same share that I borrowed from Noah, and shorted it too. Okay. If this were a just world. But what really happened is they didn't make sure that there was a share of short stock to short. They just sold it even though they didn't have it. It was a short sale. A naked short. They were doing naked shorts, which are illegal. Well, when all these Wall Street bet guys started bidding the price up, these guys had to go out and get shares. A lot of times they did this on credit, okay? So they would borrow money to do this, okay? And when the shares went up, eventually these hedge funds would have to buy back the stock so they could return it to people they borrowed it from or just buy back their short. What ended up happening was the Robinhood, because the variability of the price of GameStop, the more variable that price is, the larger swings there are in it, the more volatile it is. We call it volatility. Frank Dodd bill, which was supposed to protect little investors, had a provision in it. All of this stuff is cleared through a clearinghouse. Okay. I send all of my purchases and sales to this clearinghouse. Other big people send it there, and they make sure that the trades get executed. Okay. And they're on the hook if, say, Parker owes $1 million to some other group and he doesn't have it. Turns out he doesn't have the money. So Frank Dodd said that the traders like Robinhood had to put up collateral to this clearinghouse based on how volatile the stocks their customers are purchasing are. So that higher volatility in GameStop caused by the Wall Street bet guys forced Robinhood to have to put more capital, cash, up as collateral. And eventually they ran out of cash. They went out and borrowed like $1 billion overnight from investors, and then we're going to go out and try and borrow more. And then they put a stop to the GameStop shares. They said you can't sell the shares anymore. Right? Sell the shares.
It was a liquidity issue.
Yeah, they said it was a liquidity issue. They didn't have the cash to put the collateral up for all these trades.
Well, they said potentially they tried to walk around and say that at first there wasn't a liquidity issue, but then they walked it back and said, well, there may have been the next day had we not acted on it.
Right.
But why didn't they just pause the trade? Like, why did they not just pause the trading on it altogether? Why did they make it where you couldn't sell it?
And it was only retail stockholders who could do it. Only if you bank with like Robinhood, Ameritrade, and a couple other low to no fund traders. Because one, the stock market is a sucker's game. It's not because capitalism or free markets are bad. It's because they're heavily regulated by the government, the Security and Exchange Commission. And they make the rules. And if they are making the rules, who do you think the rules are going to favor? You? Do you have access to the chairman of the Security and Exchange Commission? Would he answer your phone call? No, but he will answer the head of Citadel Capital, who also happens to own the New York Mets. I think Steve Cohen. His last name is definitely Cohen. He'll answer his phone call. And that guy has money to pay lobbyists to go to Washington, D.C. and make sure that his interests are protected when those idiots in D.C. decide that they're going to regulate something. Okay? And Frank Dodd, which is supposed to protect little investors, didn't, because one of the reasons was they had these capital provisions in it, these collateral provisions in it that hurt small retail investors and traders and anybody who wants to go against Wall Street, the big hedge funds and banks. Yeah.
It's all just rigged. In a way, it's all.
In essence, yes.
You can't. It's like you can't.
As a small guy, no.
In the long run, you can't win. Like the Wall Street bets, people they did win in the short.
I mean,
run.
you can win, but if it's important, you can't. Okay, if it's important, these guys. First off, you don't even know the rules. Steve Cohen, the guys at Melvin Hedge Fund, the guys at Robinhood, they know all the rules. And they know how to take advantage of those rules right? Nobody cuts their own throat. No one cuts their own throat. And they can put pressure on Robinhood because they, in essence, owned part of it, and they owned part of it through Melvin, and were their customers in essence in Citadel Capital that owned Melvin. So they're not cutting their own throats. Citadel, who's making the trades, is not going to allow Melvin to go bankrupt and lose $1 billion. Melvin is not going to fund Robinhood and go out and lose, in essence, be shut down because of all the shorts that they had out. They're not going to let those shorts go bad and destroy themselves. And Robinhood, they had to know their own self-interest there. Now, I'm not going to say what they did was illegal.
Yeah, it wasn't because they're their own. They had the right to do, but
They had the right to
was
do it.
illegal?
But again, when you bought stock,
Yeah.
I'm not saying you did, but when retail investors like us bought stock in Robinhood, we didn't know there was a rule there. We didn't know if we really got under somebody's skin that Robinhood would have to put up billions of dollars in cash as collateral on those trades, and that, they were owned by Melvin, and their Citadel was their customer, and Melvin had a big investment, and no one thought about that. They just thought, oh, they'll make our trades. They won't ruin themselves by putting a stop to it just because we're getting under somebody's skins. Yeah, they will. Yeah, they will. Okay. But anyway, so you see an increase in demand for GameStop stock too, maybe. Now, over here, let's say this is the demand for credit hours. So here, the number of buyers, because of the stimulus check, increased. So it's going to increase demand for Bitcoin. Okay. Here, this is the demand for Gadsden State Community College in credit hours. Okay. And let's say that the number of people here in Gadsden and the surrounding area, let's say that decreases. There's fewer people living in Etowah County and surrounding areas. That would decrease the demand for Gadsden State Services. The decrease in the number of buyers decreases demand, and increase in the number of buyers increases demand. There is a direct relationship between the number of buyers and demand. I gotta fix this. My people at home can't see that where I wrote direct. If I were organized, I'd rule them out. It'd be a lot better anyway. The next thing we have are taste and preferences. Okay. Taste and preferences are directly related to demand. There is a direct relationship between taste and preferences and demand. The Los Angeles Dodgers won the World Series last year. Okay. People prefer to wear the gear of winners, especially champions. So if the Dodgers win the World Series, that's going to increase preferences for Dodger gear. This might be Dodger gear. Isn't that what you kids call it now? Gear? I think so. Okay. And that's going to increase demand for Dodger gear. If you don't know, the Dodgers are a baseball team. They're out of Los Angeles. They won the World Series last year. They won the championship for baseball. And I know that people say that we're very bad for calling our national championship the World Series, but we're the best when it comes to baseball. Okay? That little stupid game they kick the ball around, we suck at that. We don't care about that. But when it comes to baseball, we're the best. We invented baseball. Nuclear weapons and the Three Stooges. We're something to be proud of. All right. So the Dodgers win. That increases taste and preferences. That causes an increase in demand. On the other hand, let's use LeBron James. Erase the wrong curve here. Erase the pink one and erase the brown one. Here is the demand for LeBron James gear. Okay. Greatest basketball player living when he's playing. Okay. Now, let's say, and I hope this never happens, let's say we found out that LeBron James was using performance-enhancing drugs, right? He's using steroids, okay? People do prefer not to wear the gear of cheaters, okay? So if LeBron James got caught using steroids, which I hope and don't think he does, don't get me wrong, okay? That would cause people to not prefer his jerseys, decrease taste and preferences for LeBron jerseys. I'm good at that. And that would decrease the demand for LeBron jerseys. So there is a direct relationship between taste and preferences. If taste and preferences go up, demand increases. If taste and preferences go down, demand decreases. Okay. Oh, I keep thinking. The next one is income. Income is funky. Okay. When it comes to income, it really depends on what type of a good we're talking about. And that determines the relationship in neoclassical economics between income and demand. For most goods, and we call those normal goods, there is a direct relationship between income and demand for a normal good. Okay? So for normal goods, there is a direct relationship. Okay, between income and demand for a normal good. So this is the demand for Nike shoes, which I hate. Hate Nike, for the worst. When I was a kid, I played baseball and I played basketball. And I had a pair of like the original Air Jordans. Original ones. I had them. The ugly ones, the red and the white, they're so ugly.
They're worth a crap ton of money, man.
No, they're not. I tore them up in the trash. Anyway, they just tore my feet up. They just ripped my feet apart. I'd go out and I'd play basketball and I would just get my feet ripped to shreds. But they were Air Jordans, so I had to keep them on. And then one day I couldn't take it anymore. My feet were just ripped apart. And I went to this shoe store and I talked to a guy that actually knew something about shoes. And I took the shoes off. I said, look what these are doing to my feet, man. They're killing me. They're killing me. And he goes, it's because you're wearing Nikes, man. I'm like, no, Michael Jordan wears these. He says, no, Michael Jordan doesn't wear those. They make special shoes for Michael Jordan. He don't wear those. Those are made by some dude in Thailand, okay, that works for a buck a day, okay? And then he goes, they're also, actually, I think they were made in China. And he said, in China, people's feet are smaller. These shoes are narrower than any other shoe you can get. Don't buy Nikes ever again. And he put me in a pair of $40 Converse, man. And they felt so good. And he said, I still, up until about 2 years ago, I bought 3 pairs. Up until 2 years ago, I still had a pair of them. And I never had foot problems again. They were the best. But yeah, he said they're the widest. Like if you have a normal, like I don't, a normal foot, mine's a little fat, and I'm a little, like my daughter says I'm a little chubby. Just a little chubby. But I'm fat. So anyway, my feet are kind of fat. They're not what they call them wides, but they're not normal. They're in between. And he says that the Converse are the widest at that time. I don't know if this has changed. But the ones that were made in China, they have narrower feet. So the Chinese Nikes were made narrower. So if you bought one of those, you had a normal foot, it was too tight. So anyway, we'll call Nikes a normal good, okay? If people get their income checks, right? They get their stimulus checks. That's going to increase their income. And that's going to cause them to buy more Nike shoes. Because Nikes are a normal good. Most people like that name in the swoosh on them. Is it still that way? Do you guys still wear Nike shoes? These guys got Adidas on.
So I'm wearing
Yeah, Adidas is better. Nikes are the worst. Michael Jordan is a horrible person for selling those crummy shoes. I'm not kidding. I had just my feet just felt like they were being ripped apart wearing those stupid things. It's no fun dunking on some guy and your feet hurt. I dunk on too many guys, trust me. All right. But when I did, I may not dunk often, but when I did, I'd rather have my feet not hurt. Okay. Do you believe that? Do you think I could dunk a basketball? Not right now, I can't. Absolutely not. On the other hand, let's say instead of giving out the stimulus checks that the government had, or let's say that a lot of people lost their jobs, okay, the incomes went down. That would cause a decrease for Nike shoes, okay? Now, that is provided that it's a normal good. We also have what the neoclassicals call an inferior good. And for an inferior good, there is an inverse relationship between your income and demand. Okay. Now, my inferior good is macaroni and cheese. When I was a grad student, I was dirt poor. My parents never gave me a dime for college. My dad was kind of mad I went to college. He wanted me to come help him manage his transmission business, work in a transmission shop. Could you see me in a transmission shop, Parker? Yeah, you're whatchamajigger and your thingamajigger. They went out and we're gonna have to charge you $2,500 and put another whatchamacallit in there, okay? And then after that, you got a tire fluid leak, right? We're gonna have to repair that, so it's gonna run you about $2,800, right? Rag sticking out of my pocket, and wrench in couldn't see myself doing it either. But anyway, they never gave me any money. And when I was a grad student, I was dirt poor. And I had an assistantship. I was making $800 a month. And then I went back to school after break, and I'll never forget his name, Jim Long, department chairman. I come back. He's like, Yohe, we're pulling you out of the classroom. And I said, I don't care. Go ahead. I taught at a community college down there, and I had more experience teaching than anyone. So he says, all right, we're pulling you out of the classroom. We don't like you. And you're going to go be a grad assistant again. I'm like, I don't care. He gave me like 4 professors. Most of the time you get 1, maybe 2. I was a grad assistant for 4 profs. I'm like, I don't care. That's fine. So I worked for a month, and I get my paycheck, and it says $400 on it a month. Gross. Taxes got to come out of that too. I had this horrible apartment. We called it the Roach Motel. It was right by a creek, and it was just infested with roaches. And my rent was $400 a month. So I get a check for $330, and I got $400 in rent. So I go back. I'm like, hey, man, you made a mistake. I need you to give me the right check. This one says $400 on it. I need the $800 check you're supposed to give me. And the department secretary looks at me and she goes, he didn't tell you? I said, he didn't tell me what? She said, oh, he cut your assistantship down to half. Didn't tell me. I get a $300 and some check, and I got to pay $400 in rent. I got to pay electricity. I got to pay, I have a car. I have to put gas in it. And then, there's this other little thing called eating and stuff. So I was dirt poor. I had to go get a job. So I'm in grad school, and I'm working I worked as a bartender and a busboy. I had a job where I bus tables and bartended. Actually, I think that job was I just bartended in a crummy place. So I have like no money for that food stuff. And at the Kroger down where I worked, they had a special 6 boxes of macaroni and cheese for $1. And that was what I ate. I would get up in the morning, I would go into school, I would come home after classes, and I would boil up a pot of macaroni and cheese. And I didn't even put it in a bowl. I just would eat it out of the pot with that wooden spoon you stir it with. And then I would go to my other job, work, and then come home and sleep and get up next morning and do it. And I did that 6 days a week. And then on Sunday, because it was the Lord's Day, I would go out and splurge and go down to like the burger joint and buy a couple burgers on the dollar menu if I had the money. And that was all I ate. And then I got my first job working at the University of West Florida. And suddenly I went from being broke and single to married. I did. My first job, married. I'd been dating for a long time, but still. Then she decides to marry me or whatever. And then I get my first paycheck. Now I went from making $400 a month. So here's my income at time one, $400 per month. And I ate at least 24 boxes. So here's my income, right? Oh wait, this should go over here. Quantity one. I was eating at least 24 boxes of macaroni and cheese. That's my quantity demanded when my income was $400 a month. Then my income went up to about $4,000 a month. And when I got my first paycheck, and I'm not making this up, this is 100% true. I get my first big paycheck and I come home and my wife's got her hand out. All she had to do for it, her hand out. I had to work a whole month for it. As I am putting that paycheck into my wife's hand, I say, I do not ever want to see another box of macaroni and cheese in this house again. And she grabbed the check without saying anything, and I held it. And I would not give it up until she said, no more macaroni and cheese. And then I let go of it. So my income went up. And I went from demanding 24 boxes of macaroni and cheese per month to 0. And to this day, I've never eaten macaroni and cheese since. My wife will make it and put it on a plate, but I will not eat it. I'll eat everything else around it as long as it doesn't touch the macaroni and cheese. But the macaroni and cheese will sit there. And what's really funny is, so let's do this first. So here, this is for a inferior good. So here's my demand for mac and cheese when I was making $400 a month. And there's my demand for macaroni and cheese. I had to do it completely off the box, off the hook. I will not eat it. I might eat some if you pay me, but probably not. I will never pay to eat it, and I will not eat it for free. Okay. So here, my income went up. And my demand for macaroni and cheese went down. Okay. God forbid my income ever goes back to near $400 a month. If that were the case, then it is conceivable that my that my demand for macaroni and cheese might increase. Primary. Okay. Never want to see this stuff again. It's so bad if I eat some of this stuff, the second it's hit my stomach, my stomach will just hurt. I feel like I'm gonna throw up. That and tequila. I had a bad experience with tequila once. Now, here's the thing about these. Some of you are looking at me going, what the heck's this problem with macaroni and cheese? I like it. You know, if I got a pay raise at work, I might buy more macaroni and cheese. These things are subjective. What is a normal good to you, macaroni and cheese, might be an inferior good to me. So it's subjective. In fact, in my own home, growing up, guess what my kids' favorite food was? Pizza, but their second favorite was macaroni and cheese. And when my wife was gone, gosh, anybody come from a big family? How many kids you got in your family?
Just one.
Just you?
So I have a sister. So like
Oh, you have a sister?
there's 4 of us.
2?
Just my younger sister.
Okay. Well, we have a lot of kids. Even 3 is probably close enough to do it. Does everybody like the same thing? I got kids that hate hot dogs. I got a kid that hates hamburgers, won't eat hamburgers of all things. There's only 2 things that they would probably all eat that I could cook. Pizza and mac and cheese. So I would have to cook mac and cheese for them. And I would put it in that pot. Dan, have you ever had mac and cheese out of a box? It's wonderful. It's a box and it's got these little noodles in it, macaroni noodles. And then it has a packet. And you open this packet and it's like fluorescent orange powder. And then you pour that in with some milk and some butter. And you stir it up, mix it up, get it hot, and you put the noodles in. Actually, you cook the noodles first. Then you put the milk and the butter and the powder in. And you mix it all up. And I don't know what's in that packet, Dan, but it's not cheese. I think it's something left over from Chernobyl, or what it might be is Soylent Orange. Has anybody ever seen the movie Soylent Green? Oh, if you get a chance over spring break, watch it. You'll find out what Soylent Green is. It's just the orange version of it. And then you eat it. Oh, it's so gross. But anyway, to them, macaroni and cheese is a normal good. In my own home. Okay, so it's subjective. So what mainstream economists do is they would just look to see on average whether or not something's a normal good or an inferior good. Okay, like over history. They say, well, historically, macaroni and cheese is more of a normal good to more people. So when incomes go up, they tend to buy more. Okay. Examples of inferior goods, for me, macaroni and cheese, off-brand clothing, Jet Pep gasoline. Okay, when you're broke, you go to Jet Pep, but when you got money, you go to a branded gas station. What is another example? Maybe used to say like Korean cars were bad, but they're actually really good now. If you don't have any money, what kind of car do you buy? Yeah, maybe like a little coupe or something, right? I don't know what they call them. And then normal good might be sedans or definitely trucks, right? Your income goes up, you buy more trucks, right? Especially here in Alabama. I drive a truck. Right? So I don't think I'm making fun of anybody. All right. Is it time? Okay. Y'all have a good one. We'll finish this up when we get back. If you haven't watched the video quiz for chapter 3, watch it now. The exam will consist of, it'll be very similar to the quizzes and the video quizzes, the Blackboard quizzes and the video quizzes. If I were you, I would make sure that I take the Blackboard quizzes right. I would take the quiz, see what I missed, study for 20 minutes on what I missed, and retake the quiz. Keep doing that until you get a full 100 on it and you understand it. I would make sure that I got 100 on the video quizzes. If you didn't, you can go back and watch it. I only keep the highest score. So if you got an 80 and you went back and watched it, and you got a 60, you will not lower your score.
March 29th to April 6th.
Is that right?
I think we still.
I thought it was the, oh man, hold on. Whoa. I thought it was coming up. Hold on, let me end recording. Okay, let me look. I might have